Sue Edwards. Hi Sue, thank you very much for coming. Thanks for your patience. I know you've been here for a long time waiting.
Oh, well, I decided that I would come make sure I got here and had a park.
Sue, you have 4 minutes to speak.
Yes.
Your time is up here.
Right.
And that includes questions. And just take your time, start when you're ready. The clock won't start until you're ready. And I also want to welcome you here.
Right. I've been living in Hamilton and then in Eureka but I had a... of course I could.
That's it.
Right, thank you. I had a stint in Wellington.
Excuse me, can we just reset the clock? Thank you. Okay, so sorry.
It's all right. When I came to Hamilton in '71, it was a cow town. We didn't have a museum. We had a temporary art gallery in the bottom of the PSIS building, which my children and I used to go to regularly. And there were about 1 million volunteer organisations. That was it. We were trying for a museum when I left here in '85 and went down to Wellington for a while. And when I came back, it was fantastic to find that it was here, it was operating, and it was becoming more popular. What we have now is a fantastic museum. The Eureka exhibition is the only one in Australasia. We got it. Okay, I live in Eureka and it was great, but you know, how much of these really, really good exhibitions are we going to get if the money is trimmed? Because I'm quite sure that some of the really good people who are working there now will leave, as they have done in the past when things have been screwed down. And it's so good now. How can we not keep supporting it the way it should be supported? Because it is one of our things. We have a lovely zoo, we have the gardens, and we have the museum. And now it's even got an art gallery, courtesy of Barry. I confess that I also work part-time or as a volunteer at the Wallace Gallery in Morrinsville. And it has done amazing things for Morrinsville. But to put my other part is that to put the theatre where you're planning, I would never go there at night. I'm 75. I don't go down Victoria Street at night, nor would I. And where is the car parking? I'd be quite happy to go back to the founder's site, but it's too precarious with all those bars. I know that brings in a lot of people, and you know, people go to the bars and then they go to the theatre. Well, that's fine, but that's an age group. That is not the demographic that we're living in now. We're all getting older, and it's going to go on that way. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I'll just start, Sue, just with one comment over here, Sue. Sue, at the front.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's just the speakers are everywhere. Just one point of clarity is that there is no proposal to cut any funding for the museum. So the budget for the museum's been left alone, and I haven't heard anybody say that they're proposing to cut the funding for the museum either. So
Well-
just to put your mind at rest on that one. So
Well, will it increase as it needs to?
no, it hasn't been increased either. It's just been left where it was.
Well,
But just for your information.
yes,
so,
I didn't
yeah.
say it had been cut, but
Yeah.
I knew that it was being stagnated.
Yes, it is staying where it was.
I think that's very
unless
sad.
somebody proposes otherwise. So
I think that's very sad. It's something that we should be pushing. I mean, the funds for the gardens weren't found overnight, but we got them built. The exhibitions that we have in the museum now and the plans they have for it probably won't happen if the money isn't there, more money isn't there.
okay, so we've got 3 questions. Can we make them very, very quick, please, because
Yeah.
we're 30 seconds over time already. So short and precise questions. Okay. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, short and precise, please.
Short and precise. You know, you obviously live in Eureka, that's cool, but would you support councils like Waikato, Matamata, Hamilton joining to do some regional funding for these regional facilities? Because the burden falls on us, you know, on the Hamilton ratepayer. It's a good burden, but it should be shared, in my view, with Tamahiri and Eureka and other areas.
As far as the museum's concerned, I don't have any problem. As far as the theatre's concerned, I do.
Right, okay, thanks, that's fine.
And Paula, Councillor Paula, sorry.
Oh, thank you. Hi, Sue. Just, I guess you're interested in how we fund the museum facilities plan, not just hold the current budget. You're talking about implementing, is that right? Implementing the visions and strategies within the museum. Is it called the museum facility plan? I've forgotten the exact title. Pardon? Museum strategic plan. That one. Thank you. That's what you meant.
Yes.
But not constraining that, but actually funding some items within the museum strategic plan.
You can't stagnate. You have to keep moving, otherwise it fades away.
Okay, thank you very much, Sue. We appreciate you coming in, and
Thank you, Andrew.
thank you for your patience.
That's all right.
Okay, John Simmons. John, is there anyone else you would like to join you at the table?
No, thank you,
Okay.
Your Worship.
So, John, you have 9 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to you and the councillors, thanks for the opportunity to present on this most important process of allocating funds over quite a period of years to worthy projects. I'm the chair of the Taitua Technical Advisory Group, which represents 5 persons appointed by the council and is supported by 4 council staff. I have 2 persons in support tonight. One of the benefactors whom donated the facility to the city, Bunny Mortimer, and her daughter Jane, who is on the advisory group. So I'm really pleased that they're able to come along tonight and assist me. I want to open in stating that the city is fortunate to have Taitua as a council asset right on the city boundary. I'm not sure that you're aware there's over 100,000 people visited Taitua in the past year. It's a all year round venue which has appeal in all seasons, but to see it over the last month is just fantastic. And I'd just like to pose the question as to how many councillors have been out to Taitua. Hopefully it's a full show of hands. Pretty clear, yes, pretty good. It's a couple maybe. With climate change and global warming, the need for a facility such as Taitua to provide education on how trees will assist in building resilience and sequestering carbon is a major advantage that the city and the region need to utilise. The role of the group is to provide an expert advisory opinion for council on the care and operation of the Arboretum. The representation of technical skills is to provide the council with skilled analysis of proposals and to ensure that the annual plan is fit for purpose. And within our terms of reference, it states, the group shall endorse an annual work plan for the Arboretum and recommend such to Hamilton City Council for approval as part of the council budgeting and annual planning process. So I see within our mandate that to submit and seek support through the long-term plan is quite within the mandate within terms of reference. So essentially, our submission seeks to ensure that the council provides the necessary capital to enable Taitoa development to continue to meet the demands of those 100,000 plus visitors. Taitoa is a destination where residents of the city and the region go to learn, relax, exercise and enjoy family time. It really rates much higher than some of the projects that the city proposes through the proposed LTP. There is the need for additional car parking, roading access, creation of new wetland areas, additional toilets over the next 10 years. We don't expect that we'll be able to fund all of those projects in the next sort of 5 years. We do anticipate there is a 10-year horizon to getting those developments in place. Taitoa is a vital part of Hamilton's green infrastructure, as it's been branded through the plan, and an asset that will provide direct economic benefit to the city. We appreciate the challenge that the council faces with this plan. There are a lot of conflicting demands on the ratepayer dollar. We appreciate that. We are certainly open to investigating other avenues of finance with partnerships with other parties, and we'll be actively doing that. So we're willing to answer any questions that councillors may have, and thank you for the opportunity to present.
Deputy Mayor Martin.
Well, obviously, respect and deep gratitude to John and Bunny Mortimer for the incredible gift. I'll say that and put that on record and pay my respects, obviously. One thing, and I believe it or not, this is not politician speak, I am a regular user. I have been there more than once. You know, it's a lovely area. The only slight disadvantage is around those access issues, you know, because you have to drive quite a way unless you go up Wallace Road. Yeah. Yep. And even then, that's an interesting story about going down. Do you have any, from a technical point of view, of how we could probably, as a city, work with other landowners to perhaps improve access a little? Look, because it seems that, you know, that seems a bit of a barrier.
I don't know all the ins and outs, but I fully appreciate that there is opportunities to work with Waikato District and also the adjacent landowners on improving access from that Wallace Road end. Probably it's not easy, but it's something in the long term the council should be putting their sights on and seeing what can be done. I just wondered from that, you know, getting to for the casual visitor, if that is a bit of a barrier. Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Jeff.
Thanks, Mayor Andrew. Yeah, thanks, John. Can I just for clarity, get a feel for what are the biggest priorities in terms of the costs, the infrastructure? You mentioned toilet facilities, car parking, collections, land purchase, walkways. What's topmost of your mind in terms of what's needed and when?
Yeah, at the moment we've got a pretty miserly and meagre capital budget. It's probably been victim to some cost cutting in the past, so we'd firstly look at restoring that to a reasonable level if we could. But in terms of priority, I guess, yes, car parking is a really pressing requirement. You can go up there probably any weekend day, particularly over the last month when the autumn colours are there, and you'd be hard pressed to find a car park. The next one would be some additional toilets, some upgrading to some of the pathways, some alternative roading access would be great to investigate. And I think in the longer term, seeking to acquire more land to expand the Arboretum too. There's a lot more could be done in terms of species collections with the Arboretum. And I'd just take the opportunity to say, Hamilton's so fortunate to have this rich asset of such a complete Arboretum. There's only a couple of others in the country, and they're probably both over on the East Coast. So the opportunity for people to go to an Arboretum of some, significant value is here right in the Waikato. Don't underestimate it. Don't undervalue it.
Thank you.
Councillor Jeff? No.
Just finished.
Yeah, I've just been.
Okay.
Done.
So thank you very much, John. I
Appreciate
really do love what you've got up there.
Great.
I walk around there often with my wife because it's a great place to hide. Nobody knows. You don't often see people up there, so it's unlike walking around a lake where you meet 100 people. So it's just really, really cool. It's private and it's
Good.
beautiful. So
Thank you.
thank you. John Gallagher. So, John, who are you representing?
I think I'm an individual at this stage because I have a lot of different things I'm involved in, and these are probably just some of my views.
Okay, so it's 4 minutes. The 4 minutes includes question. The time's on the bottom
Yep.
right corner, and I just want to welcome you here too, John.
All right, thank you for the welcome. And I guess quickly, borrowing to operate on cost, what's absolute no-no in business? But borrowing for capital infrastructure and stuff like that, water and all those sort of things, and roading, I see no problem with that, because those are really intergenerational debts. And the next generation should be paying for part of those as well, probably like we're paying for some of the stuff that the previous generation done for us. So I see borrowing for capital assets and some of those things, not a problem in my view. The capital value, I support capital value, although an interesting question someone gave me the other day was, well, if I got a $10 million house and there's only 2 of us living in it, should I be paying a pile more rates than somebody's in a $500,000 house with 15 people living in it? Question mark there. On your changes, there is a real challenge for about 30% of your ratepayers. A one property we have a tenant in goes from 44,000 to 87,500. Bit of a big jump. Now, for some businesses, that's going to be really hard for them to manage, and I guess that's something you guys have got to consider. But one of the suggestions I thought of, well, what about those that are, say, under the 9.5%? What you do with them is you move them to cap value now, and those that are over that 9 or 10% level, you run them through the 10-year program so they arrive there. In other words, split your rating system. Something to give a thought about. Now, the other problem is you've got a new valuation coming later this year for the 1920 financial year. That's going to throw another wobbly in your system. Do you wait for your changes to have a go at it then, when there's a total confusion going on? Or third option, basically keep the present system for your 10 years. So I guess that's why we elect you guys, to figure out how to deal with it. Okay, the other one was just a question about inefficiency. Sort of looking from the outside to council's inefficiency, bloody inefficient. When I look at the Founders Sudden closed down, when I look at a pool closed down, with the library closed down and your library's still downstairs, God, if you had an organisation, you'd have that fixed in no time flat. So that's just sort of part of a view of looking at, I see a lot of inefficiencies. And something what we call smart management or lean management, we as a company have done that. Through manufacturing, we've taken 30 and 40% out of some of our costs, and particularly in the manufacturing sector, but also we've run it through our management and things like that. And that may be something worth having a look at to actually improve your management system. Okay, on some of the big regional items, the regional theatre, I strongly support that. As a partnership, as the plan sits at the moment, I can see that could actually work and operate. And I think from that you'll also get a bridge over the river, which a footbridge that is. This is another bit of work going on for that one. And I think probably you could also, with your Victoria Park, could probably over time be included in that. So I guess I've got a strong place. Don't waste any more money on Garden Place. The council's wasted so much millions of dollars over the last few years. Terrible. And then the park thing, yeah, I like the idea, but I think it's probably too early. Let's what you've got now work, and then if the theatre thing does develop, that would be, I would see eventually joining in as part of that. Hamilton Gardens, yeah, nice idea, but I've got people keep telling me that's the best themed gardens in the world. What the bloody hell are we spending a lot of money on expanding it for? Even though I've been asked for some money to actually support it. and I'm not, yeah, anyway. And then also looking at some of the other things like the Rototuna, you know, that should be over a number of years or something like that, rather than sort of trying to do it in 10. You've got indoor recreation centre and playgrounds, partnerships, opportunity. You know, Rotary, for instance, loves building playgrounds, so is that some form of partnership that could be arranged between you? The other things I didn't, I've mentioned Garden Place, and then, charging for the garden, yeah, I agree you should try for that, but I hope somebody's done some analysis on it. What is the cost of collecting the money for a start, but also what is the downside if you're charging, and then come up with some answers. Do you make enough money out to make a difference to the gardens? So I trust somebody they've got the thought around that. And even though I'm 50 seconds over time, something I've been cleaning out some newspaper cuttings recently, and I found one from 1995 or 96 where I suggested we expand the city to Narrowalk here in Cambridge and a bit east and west and become Waikato City. So put that on the books. Waikato City can be in here in due course. Oh, that was the Chamber of Commerce didn't like it, but that was right. Anyway, I just flagged that one for you to give some thoughts to. But at the end of the day, when your problem with your two council beside you, lower DC costs and a whole raft of things, you're getting a lot of development in there. Now, should that be part of the city? We've really become a super city.
Are you using the amalgamation word, John? No.
Anyway, there's a thought for you. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for your presentation, John. And on behalf of the city, I just want to thank you for your the business that you've done and people you've employed in the city, for the stepping up politically and what you've done for the city there, and also for your philanthropy. So
we'll keep going up.
Okay, so I just really want to honour you and thank you for what you and your family have done for this city of Hamilton.
No. We haven't stopped yet.
Thank you.
We're just working on getting the next generation into more and more of it as well. So.
Lovely. Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Paul Bradley. Hi, Paul.
Hi.
You've got 4 minutes to speak. The clock's on the bottom right of the screen.
Correct.
That includes questions. And just organise yourself. The clock won't start until you're ready to go. And also, I just want to welcome you here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, good evening, councillors and council staff, a few members of the public. I'd like to spend these few minutes talking not so much about projects and rates, but about a vision for Hamilton. A vision in which our city has a bustling CBD, an exciting and distinctive arts and culture scene, and an amazing transport system. Hamilton has the youngest population of all New Zealand cities, and it also has the most educated. We have the building blocks to become New Zealand's most vibrant and exciting city. We have an opportunity to attract more young people as our city grows and as people leave Auckland. Millennials are seen as essential to the prosperity of cities. They're key to fueling economic growth and to urban revitalisation. So, how can we attract more people to Hamilton, and particularly more young people? Number one, we need a thriving city centre. Our city centre is starting to come alive, and with more effort, it can really prosper. We need to be enabling apartments to be built in the city. The development contributions and zoning that we have in place are starting to have a really positive effect. And I strongly support the continued financial incentivisation of good CBD density, as well as discouraging suburban sprawl. Council should be taking good advice on this from independent experts and not so much from developers. Suburban developers are really great at building houses, but they're not great at building cities. Number two, arts and culture. So it's one thing to create good accommodation in our city centre, but we also need great amenities. So to that end, I really support the building of the Waikato Regional Theatre. I think that new development will do wonders for our city, for the life of our city. And coupled with the other exciting things happening in arts and culture, like our growing music scene and initiatives like the Boone Street Art Festival, the city centre starts to look like a really exciting place to be and to live. Number three, easy mobility. So millennials care less about cars than my generation and less than my parents' generation. When I turned 15, I think I got my licence on my birthday, and that was freedom. But for young people, they are in record numbers not getting licences, and for them, freedom is being able to move about easily without the burden of owning a car and dealing with the maintenance. So young people and future generations, they're looking for easy ways to get around, safe walking. They're looking to be able to ride their bikes, to be able to easily catch public transport. And when we build these things, when we put them in place, it won't just be the millennials using it, they'll be used by all. So when these things are done properly, it is always a case of build it and they'll come. And once again, providing these transport options will ease congestion, bring economic, health and social benefits to Hamilton. So I support increased investment in the walking, cycling and public transport areas. So that's a thriving city centre, strong arts and culture and easy mobility. If we move in these directions, we could easily become the coolest city in New Zealand. I urge you to think beyond the immediate projects and rates increases that the LTP focuses on, and think about what kind of city we want to become. We have some brilliant opportunities right in front of us. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Paul, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Saskia Schnoepmaker. Apologies if I didn't pronounce your name correctly.
No, that's perfect.
So you have 4 minutes to present. The clock's on the bottom right corner of the board, the electronic board, and they will adjust it. And your time doesn't start until you're organised and ready, so just relax.
Thank
And
you.
Saskia, we just welcome you here today.
Good evening, Mayor, and good evening, councillors and members of the public. My name is Saskia Schnoepmaker. I come in support of my personal submission. I'm a community psychologist and I'm a long-time resident of Hamilton, more than 50 years, but I have lived overseas as well. My submission is really about well-being and how can we make our communities be more conducive to well-being through urban design. And like the previous speaker, I really would love this council to look beyond rates and look at the bigger picture over 10 years, particularly in the area of new development. So also looking at social sustainability, that's part of well-being, and the cornerstones of that are health, a holistic view of health, physical, mental, social, spiritual and cultural, and putting that lens onto projects that you are considering. Also social connection and community, connection with nature and growing food. There's a lot being said about having food grown locally in terms of environmental sustainability, so community gardens, that sort of thing. And the sharing of resources and an exchange of skills, which is another cornerstone of sustainability. So I guess my comment and my request is that local government is involved in promoting these values, these principles, and looking at what they're doing in the light of those principles in all of its housing and development activities, and particularly in the new greenfields developments in Rotokauri and in Peacocks. And really the focus has to be on excellent design and planning, and that there are incentives to developers to do things differently, and maybe partnerships even. I guess I've put together a few ideas. The focus on innovation, excellent planning, design, learning from overseas examples, and there are plenty of those in Europe, of new kinds of housing developments. Village-style high-density housing, shared green garden space incorporated into design. We don't have anything like that. We have very little of it, actually. We have maybe one, that's Abbeyfield up in Te Araho. But I'd love to see more of that. New models of ownership and tenancy, cooperative housing schemes. I think, you know, local government could be working with central government in that area. Once again, affordable, healthy, zero net energy house design and clever infrastructure design, like our previous speaker was talking about, encouraging biking, walking and bus so that those are the easy choices. And lots of community projects so that people can work together, brings enormous mental health benefits and well-being to the community. So I've just, this is a picture of Earth Song, which some of you may be familiar with. It's a permaculture, urban permaculture eco-commune neighbourhood in Waitakere. And I've lived there, and I can attest to the fact that village-style houses with green brings well-being to its members. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Paula.
Thank you for that. I'm interested in your views on exploring these views on housing a wee bit more in terms of what we do with infill, because I think I heard you say that the typical, it might have been in your written, that the high density blocks, just a row of townhouses, 3 levels, whatever, with a tiny backyard, isn't enabling people, even though they're living closer, they're not living more connected lives. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
So we need
Yep.
To consider in the way we go forward with areas of housing, sufficient green space in and around all of the dwellings.
Exactly.
Kind of thing, so that people get out and then, is that right?
Yep, exactly, you've got it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think we have a unique chance in these new developments to do things differently and to provide for those shared green spaces around a village type of setup. You know, with cars all together rather than in every driveway. You know, that we actually make a requirement rather than how many cars you can park out outside your house, it's how much green space you've got there.
Lovely. Thank you very much for your presentation. I think you probably know friends of mine's, Janine and Russell Joyce from Earthsong.
Where is-
Over here.
Sorry.
No. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and appreciate you coming in.
Thank you. And I have left the presentation on the paper.
Marie-Claire Liepiner.
Hi.
Hi. So you have 4 minutes to present.
Yeah.
The clock's in the top right corner. It'll count down once you start, and that includes questions. And I welcome you here today.
And thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor. And being in Hamilton as a former refugee, and nearly 20 years next year, I think I need to put my submission to have our friendly Hamilton City Family Centre. In the 10 years plan, I would really, really like the Hamilton City Council to focus on having a family centre. Why I'm talking about family centre? Because we're talking about family violence, about a lot of children, family abuse. But what are we doing to prevent the family violence? That's why I'm thinking about having a family center to prevent violence, where couple can have time, quality time, children coming there, spend time with their father and their mother, and then when the couple can spend quality time. Not only talking about abusing, but give family a quality time. The city will provide opportunity for family and informal gathering. I'm talking about family. I'm not talking about children, father separate. I'm talking the whole family to come together. And I'm talking about the couple to spend quality time and strengthen the relationship. And also I'm talking about children to be safe in this family center. And also have life skills for children. Because as you know today, our kids spend a lot of time on computer, but in the family center, there will not be computer, they'll be learning life skills. A type of life skill, I say, for the family members, not computer, really life skill like carpentry, plumbing for children at an early age. And also for new to New Zealand like myself, it gives us a sense of belonging in the family center. As I said, it's about strengthening relationship, talking area for prayer and social needs. People can come, we have counselor on board, we have doctor on board. That's about my family center dream. That's going to look like this. We have everybody together. We have children's center, talking there. We have family. It's going to be everything in our dream family center. The only about preventing family violence. Not talking about taking children, but talking about how we can make a sustainable city through a family-friendly center. Yes, I know we have a lot of community center around. We have a lot of community center around, but I'm talking about the family center where the family can spend quality time with their children. There's no childcare, it's not a childcare, but a daycare with qualified staff, because I'm talking about being an early childhood for a long time, for 10 years now. That's the way I have my dream. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Okay, and just a short question each, please. So, Mark.
Thank you.
Councillor Mark, apologies.
Yes, no trouble. Marie-Claire, thank you. Do you know of any similar places in New Zealand that
Yeah, I know in Christchurch.
Christchurch?
Yeah, in Christchurch they have they have an early childhood center, but based on family center model. That means that the family can come, they have counselor in place. And also in Tokyo, I went to see my brother, they also have family center.
In Tokyo?
Yeah, and in Morocco, in Rabat, they also have this family center, but it connected to the library. But it's the library on the bottom, but on the top is a family center when family have quality time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, how's it going?
Councillor James.
Thank you, Mayor Andrew. Thank you, Marie-Claire. I'm just interested how a person or how a family would qualify for the family centre, because are you aware of the Hamilton Abuse Intervention Project that operates in Hamilton that do offer a lot of services to people involved or families involved in domestic violence?
Yeah, I know. I'm not talking about family violence. I'm talking about how can we prevent couples to have a relationship, abuse relationship. How can we give quality time? And I say, if I share my own experience as a mother, coming to New Zealand with no family member, I'm just at home with my children. No place to say, okay, where can I go? Because I don't have a connection. But if I know that, yes, I have a family center, I can go there, I can spend some time with my husband, and then my kids being safe.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Time's up now, so
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, I hope you're going to consider my family center in your project. Thank you.
Okay, Eddie. Hey, Eddie, you're on, mate. So, Eddie, you're welcome to bring your members up with you.
Yeah.
Okay, Eddie, welcome.
Thank you.
You have 9 minutes. The clock's in the bottom right-hand corner, and that includes questions. So just make yourself comfortable. Once you start, the clock will start. So just gather yourself and could you introduce who you're representing and who you've got with you? Thank you.
Firstly, thank you, A, for the opportunity, B, for the process. I think it's a fantastic process, and I think the response that you've gotten, it really shows that that process is brilliant. And C, for the opportunity to sit here. Eri Neha, I'm the manager for Te Whare o Te Ata at the Fairfield Chartwell Community Centre Trust. I also have to my right here Maria Marsh, who is part of the Desert Springs Community House. And also one of our local kaumata, Mr. Richard Mahara, or Tawa as we call him, who's we've also, we represent also a group called the Fairfield Elderly Resilience Network, FERN, who put in a submission in, but somehow that's, well, the chair said he put the submission in, but it doesn't seem to have arrived. But we're talking the same area, we're talking the same sort of things that we want to see happen. And so, yeah, I've asked them to come on board and share their thoughts as well when they get the opportunity to. I suppose the main basis of my submission, or Te Whare o Te Ata's, and my own personal submission, is around the Fairfield Enderley area, but especially pertaining to the Fairfield Park, Fairfield Hall, and Te Whare o Te Ata itself. Some of you would know that we've just been recently granted the opportunity to lease Fairfield Hall for the next 5 years. The process is it has gone a bit awry. At one stage. The expression of interest was around gifting the hall to the community. Then that changed to a 10-year lease. Now it's become a 5-year lease. There was a feasibility study done by Ruth Hungerford some years ago, who came up with some fantastic ideas of what could happen at that hall and how we could develop it. We've run into some problems with planning and with resource consenting and everywhere else, so it's turned into be a bit of a dud. But we want to still work with the council and produce what we see as a community hub. In my submission, we put down that we didn't support, we did, because you didn't have many options. So we put down we didn't really support the Rototuna community hub development, but we do. Because we're community people, we know there's a community out there. We do support it. We just don't support it to the amount that's being proposed at $19.6 million. If you look at Te Whare o Te Ata over 30 years that it's been there, you wouldn't come close to $19.6 million that the council or anybody's put towards it. So we think that, yes, it's a great idea to have a community hub out there. I also understand that a lot of the community halls and a lot of the community centres were firstly built by communities, and then the council were brought in to look after it. So it's a sort of a thing that we think, yep, it's a cool thing to have one out of Rototuna, and yes, they do deserve it, and yes, the population out there is needy of something, perhaps, but perhaps it's our perception is they're the wealthy. So our perception is, look, build something yourselves, and then let's sort of start talking about reinvesting out there for something bigger, brighter, better. But our main thing is that let's talk about reinvesting in the community centres and the communities that you currently have to a more meaningful degree. I understand that Neil Tolan, the Western Community Centre, presented to you guys a few weeks ago around the Community Development Fund and how it's inadequate, and if anything, it's gone backwards. It hasn't increased in the last so many years, yet the need, and you'll see it in media, and I don't need to produce studies to show that the need hasn't changed for the better. It's actually changed for the worst. And we see it every day. So, yeah, that's pretty much for me and Te Whare o Te Ata. Maria, do you want to add in anything there? I don't know, turn it on.
Kia ora. I'm Maria Marsh, and I've been living in the Fairfield area for 40 years. Over that time, I've been a social worker at the Nest. I've worked with Te Runanga o Kirikiriroa and Family Start, and I'm now the manager at Desert Spring Community Centre. So I've kind of done a round trip and come back. And I just, my heart is this whakatauki. He aha mea te nui o te ao. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the most important thing in the world? It is people. It is people. It is people. And I think you know that our communities, that's what we are working towards, is supporting our people, and we work with the lowest income people in the city. Desert Springs works with mostly people that have been referred by work and income. We are providing there at our place budgeting support, parenting courses, te reo courses, and then we have, as part of Fern, which I am, we have Te Whare o Te Ata that are providing licensing courses. We have Te Whānau Pūtahi, and they're doing their work there. So we're working together in Fairfield, and we're working really well. We had a fantastic event last year where we had a march down Clarkin Road with all of the schools taking part, saying it's not okay, family violence is not okay. And we got the schools out there marching in our walk a mile, and we want to encourage other groups in the other areas of Hamilton to do the same this year, so that all over Hamilton we have our kids marching on the same day saying it's not okay, family violence is not okay. So we've got some initiatives, and I think the great thing that I've feeling in Fairfield is that we are working together so well. Hey, Joy. Yep. And but you know, I look at our area and we need more support. We need to build up our people in that area, and we need your support, Council. We need your support. We need Fairfield Hall needs a huge revamp. We'd love to see that hall somewhere that looks like people could be proud to own it. And it's not very proud to look at and take ownership of as it is right now. You've seen it. You know what it looks like. So we want your support to build up our area, to build it up by the buildings being revamped. Yes, as Eddie said, you've spent this much out in Rotorua, and it's a new area, and I understand that. But don't forget us in Fairfield, in Melville, in Glenview, who also need support. Don't leave us, looking like we are when you can help us. We do seek funding, but actually most of our funding goes towards the programs that we're providing for the people in that area. So, we don't even consider revamping or building up our buildings because we just get enough funding to do the work for the people in our area. So that's a big thing for me. Another thing is, as I think about some of the things you're planning on doing in the city that are only going to cater for a small group of people, and they're the wealthier people, I have to say. They're not going to look after our communities. Our communities can't come to a theatre. They can't afford to get to a theatre in town here. So why not consider things like, our families can't even go to the zoo. They can't afford to go to the zoo. How about considering that there's some kind of redemption, using the community card so that the families can go there? I'd love to encourage our families to go to the zoo. So just thoughts. Thank you.
You are welcome to keep presenting if you like, because you did have a personal submission separate, which gives you another 4 minutes. So if you have more to say, you're welcome. Equally, if you want to hand over for questions, those questions inside that 4 minutes. So.
Well, the other big thing for me is housing. I have parents that come in that are now grandparents sitting in 3-bedroom houses, and they can't move because there's nothing for them to move. And I've got a number of them that come to see us and come to have cups of tea with us, and they've been in there, they've brought up their kids, but they can't move into anything else. There's nowhere for them to go. They're Housing New Zealand homes. So that's the other big thing I would like to see. And I kind of had this little dream that what if council, you supported or worked with Housing New Zealand to build some housing, 2-bedroom houses in areas around our community houses where we could support council to look after them. And, because that's a big thing, monitoring and all of that kind of thing. And there are places, and I want to challenge you. We need housing. I know you're not into housing, but I know you can somehow be involved in housing. So that's a need in our community, a big need. And I'll leave that with you. Kia ora.
Okay, just before we start the questioning, Eddie, you had talked about a destination playground on your park there in Fairfield. Is that a part of your submission?
Absolutely. As I said, it's not only the hall, it's also the park. So we have big plans for the park. In terms of celebrating a skateboard bowl, the skateboard bowl there is more in the media for negative stuff. So we want to build stuff around it and look after the kids there so that they feel proud of it. We want to move the Fairfield Hall car park between the skateboard park and the playground, and we want a playground worthy of the area. If you go past there any given day after school, you'll see around about 50 or 60 kids trying to fit on a playground that can probably fit about 15. So, and one thing that happened last week, I turned up to work last Monday and there were clothes hanging off one of the new apparatus that have been built on the playground. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's a big tall thing with rings around it that are around about 7 foot in the air, so I don't know who they expect to swing on it. But some of our kids, I turned up to work on the Monday and there were clothes hanging off it. And I thought, oh goodness, somebody in the neighbourhood's hanging out there washing. And then the kids turned up after school and they came in and I said, oh, do you guys know whose clothes they are? And they turned out, yeah, they're ours. And I said, well, what the heck are you doing? And then they went out and they swung on them. So they tied these clothes together and built a swing. So their own innovation. A council worker came to see me on the Tuesday. I showed it to her. I said, look at this. These kids are geniuses. That useless piece of apparatus is now something worthwhile for these kids because they did it themselves. And she said, take a photo of the kids on it, and she'd show the council workers. By Thursday, those clothes were taken down. So that swing had disappeared. And it wasn't the kids who did it. The kids turned around and said the council workers turned up to take them down. I hope, because my hope is that they've thought, oh, let's build this properly. I sincerely do hope that instead of they've just turned up and said, oh, bugger this, it doesn't look right. But yeah, that's my hope. So we want not so much $1 million destination playground where we just want something that the kids can actually have some input to. There was no consultation on putting it there. There was, it was just somebody came up with an idea to put a playground there, to expand the tiny playground that was there, but they didn't come and talk to the kids and built this thing for 7-footers. So it's not useful to us. We also want to expand the basketball court area. On any given weekend, you'll see about 30 kids trying to play 3-on-3 basketball on a single hoop basketball court, which just doesn't work unless it's called basketball rugby league. But yeah. Kia ora.
Okay, Eddie.
Oh, sorry. Can I also introduce Senior Sergeant Joanne Porima, who's part of our neighbourhood police team and very valuable and part of the Fairfield Enderley Resilience Network too. Sorry.
Okay. And just in staff's defence, they're not allowed to take any risk with any of our equipment, so that's probably why they got removed. But the General Manager's here, he would have heard, so yeah. Councillor Dave.
Swing from those 7-foot ones. We actually had a really good march there. You were talking about marches a while ago against suburban liquor sales down Marden Road. Remember that? That was good also. But the question was sort of slightly sarcastically put to you, Eddie. You've had the hall promised to be a gift, then the 10-year lease, then the 5-year lease. Do you think it'd be wise to sign quickly for that? It might be a 2-year lease next.
I'm still waiting for the lease, Dave.
But in terms of the area you cover, are you sort of covering over the Enderley area where there used to be the Enderley Community Centre as well? Is that sort of part of your guys' patch?
Yes and no. Yes, because as Maria said, we're working together a lot more in terms of ourselves, Whānau Pūtahi, Enderley Community Centre, Desert Springs and all the community groups around, knowing the fact that that's still their patch and they're going through a rebuilding phase and a rehashing phase of themselves, but we are supporting them in every way that we possibly can, but we don't want to take away from them, and they're fully supportive, and I can say that because I also sit on that trust, so they're fully supportive of what we're trying to look for at Fairfield, and we are the same community. We know that, we realise that our whānau are spread right throughout there, so by all means we support each other, but we don't jump on each other's toes.
Thank you.
Councillor James.
Thank you, Mayor Andrew. Thanks for the great work you do in the community out there in Fairfield. It's a good place. Welcome, Joe. And welcome, Richie, one of the ka mātua from the Eastern Suburbs Rugby Club.
Yeah.
Hey? So that's good. This guy used to still play rugby when I played rugby. With the hall, what sort of programs do you run out of the Fairfield Hall there?
We don't run any at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's still council run, but the programs they run out at the moment are Zumba daily. They have a few churches on Sunday. There's a Korean group. There's a Chinese group. There are 3 self-defence. There's a couple of kickboxing and boxing. What else is there? Yeah, that's about it in terms of council. Oh, and sorry, the Fairfield Ladies Badminton. Can't forget them. They've been there the longest. But that's one of the big objectives for us is to get the community excited about the place and really fill it up and get it running 24/7.
So it's extensively used then?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Gary.
Thank you. You mentioned you had a march against family violence. What happened from that? What changed, or what Was there any continuation from that? Anything different?
Realisation, a lot of difference, especially for our young people who are part of it. The schools, a couple of the schools reported back that some of the children went up to the teachers and told them that it happens in their houses. So it's good realisation for them. Two of the people who actually joined us on the march, I know one of them very well, and he has been an abuser, so it opened his eyes too. So just those small victories are victories. And this is why we want to make them big victories by talking to other communities and saying, here, look, it's not a difficult thing to do. If we all march on the same day and all of our kids and all of the schools are involved and we all march in our areas, there's more realisation for people to come together and let's try to eradicate this.
You would have been big in that family.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for what you do for that part of town. I know it's a hard part of town, and we commend you for stepping up in that area and doing what you do. So,
thank you.
On behalf of the council, thanks very much.
Sure.
Okay, Jacqueline Simpson. Good evening, Jacqueline. Thank you for coming. We so just welcome you. Your time's on the board. It'll be 9 minutes. It's in the bottom right-hand corner. And just make yourself comfortable. The clock won't start until you're ready to start.
Thank you.
So.
Thank you. Thank you, and thanking you for allowing me to speak. With respect to all, I'd like to speak to my written submission. I have as supporting documents to points that I'm working to make, so that what I say has some credibility and some substance in your eyes. There is, at the end, a comment that I'd like to make and leave a document written by a professor in support of my ideas and the comment, and ask you, in fact, to read that. I doubt whether it won't be now, but at a later point, and perhaps to reconsider the documents that shall leave to be tabled, if you were to be able to perhaps look for them and read them. I will leave you each with a golden orb of gold and sunshine as encouragement to do that, because we here are now really making comments about a future for this city, and really effectively in large part for the country too, because we fit in it and it's important. So this will be, I hope, at the end of a day, a long day that you've had, something that will just perhaps stick in your mind and help to ask you to read what I have left. Hamilton City Council, I don't believe, develops or redevelops with a vision. I think that in large part, rather than considering what there is here established as an asset, Fairfield Community Centre or whatever, it's always been, let's open up some new farmland, let's put some more new buildings in, and so forth. And what exists, the assets that the council has and the communities that exist are largely forgotten, and those that can afford to have nice, flashy, expensive houses move on to those new suburbs. So it creates quite a distinct structure in the city of the haves and the not so much the haves, the have-nots. And that's really quite important, and creates problems long term in terms of crime, integration of people, and how they see or feel about the city and they identify with it. Are you leaving? No. Okay. No, that's all right. Maybe I should have said, look, we'll stand and stretch, because you've been sitting now since 9 o'clock all but. Yes? Okay, it's okay.
Excuse me, Jack Bullen.
Yes?
Just, you are down to your last 5 minutes.
Okay.
So just for your sake, because we will stop you at 9 minutes.
Okay. So basically, this new development covers fertile ground, which is important to contribute to the country's earnings, to provide for buying cars and servicing our overseas debt. Low density housing spreads, and you get houses, single-storey houses, requiring a large infrastructure at high cost without actually getting a return, say, of intense development, multi-storeyed buildings, that sort of thing, which would in fact allow you to get more rates from a smaller space and recover. It makes business sense. We have a development happening in Hamilton, which is very attractive. It's a multi-use development. It's not only got apartments, but it's got offices and shops. Basically, as I said, the way cities have developed and the way Hamilton City continues to develop is to repeat the mistakes that have been made decades ago by overseas cities. They've actually engaged and worked solutions. An example is an ex-mayor of Toronto visited Auckland to talk to the councillors about the things that they're doing to reinvigorate the city, which we have as an issue here and have been struggling to how to bring life back in and to stop vagrancy and stuff. So that city has already achieved it, a proven formula, which is in large part several storey developments, which include meeting places, cafes, and not only just accommodation, apartments, but also social housing, and it's all mixed up. And it's made that town, that city, resolve the crime, and people have come back into the city to live, and it's a cohesive force that's positive. So we're having a trend in Hamilton and New Zealand with a greater number of people coming to live here. We have also a greater number of people moving into the cities. So it's important that we look after our fertile land, because it's becoming rarer to have in the world. This is another article where it refers to people starting to actually manufacture cultured meat, for goodness sakes, and things. So this is an article, it's not specifically about what I'm saying, but it alludes to the issues of where are we going to get enough food. We've got fertile land here, and we're not actually looking after it enough. With that, if in fact producing food is becoming more significant, more difficult, and therefore our product is going to become more expensive, giving a better return, which will actually come into the city, which will provide a bigger cash flow through and more economic employment opportunities. So we need to look after this precious land that we have rather than just cover in tarmac. Basically also, this development that we have currently, I don't believe has any vision. I wonder and I ask, who's actually benefiting? The existing infrastructure, the playgrounds, the water and the sewage treatment, these new people that come into new houses are basically piggybacking and freeloading on the funding and the rates that we've paid to construct that, the community halls, that are all, none of these existing assets are really being looked after and kept safe and improved. There's new areas wanting lots to have for themselves. And again, as that gentleman replied, a lot of those communities, those new developments are actually quite expensive. So people there going in have wealth compared to the existing areas that largely haven't. Peacock development, Again, here, there's an article. You've got the long-tailed bat, for goodness sake, which is about to disappear, which lives there. Has any consideration been made or looked at about the environment that we destroy constantly to put more houses up at huge cost rather than intensifying? Tourism, you know, if we have this sort of thing, I spent a holiday in Melbourne, and there are suburbs there that I was directed to buy clothes. 40 to 50% of the shops were empty. It was scary. If Amazon's going to come about and take a huge cut, and our shops diminish and become empty, what Melbourne is huge numbers of people coming in to look at its beautiful city building developments, and it's a tourist trap. So we haven't got the population to build the big buildings, but we've got our environmental assets. We could develop tours for all sorts of things. Mari talking about health, medicine,
Excuse me, Jacqueline.
plants.
You are out of time, so I'll just give you 1 minute to wrap up, but
Thank
we
you.
will have to stop you in 1 minute. So
Okay.
just to do your conclusion.
Okay, so I haven't gone anywhere near the discomfort that we have immediately. I've got a letter on file and photographs of developments and their negative damaging impact that they have on existing neighbourhood houses and stuff. My mother's front lawn, she couldn't get out of the house. She was 90 because of the flood. The existing drive has no control over its further development because it's not a new development. So there are issues that council's requirements for new developments, existing areas and changes that developers are making are not being accommodated to the laws and so forth that would otherwise apply.
Thank you, Jacqueline. That is time, so
Can I make one more comment?
yes, one more.
I have an article here that's attached that will be with you that I would like you to read. It's called The Lying Game. It's written by a professor, and it supports my concerns about the development for the theatre on the riverbank. We need to look after the existing one. I think that this new one is propelling us down the same sort of road where we've got a huge loss of funding Claudelands, which is a big monument but not really fully used to its effect, which we were promised it would do. So thank you very much, and thank you for that extra 2 minutes, more or less.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you. May I go around and leave
Sure.
a person in?
Yes, of course.
They're homegrown, no
Okay.
sprays. They might have the odd bird thingy because we still have some blackbirds and thrushes in our garden.
Okay, so guys, we've had a very long day. You've nearly been here for 12 hours, and it's the second day in a row you've been like that. Just before we go, we're going to have a quick wrap up. So staff are all on board waiting to, excuse me, old boys. Excuse me, old boys. Yes. So just in wrapping up, firstly, I'll just hand over for those who didn't turn up for the no-shows.
Okay, so today we had Alison Hamilton. Alison Hamilton did not show. Brian Pick withdrew. Lynn Nelson withdrew. Alan Petrie did not show. Dr. Dave Ward-Smith didn't turn up. Daniel Hopper did not show. Matthew Davis and Martin Mayo did not show. And Stuart Gordon withdrew. That's it.
Okay, so we'll just quickly run through the things that we want clarification or more information on. Richard is the judge and jury here, so if he pulls us back or up, that's for Richard. So
That's Richard.
So you staff ready to go, and GMs. Excuse me, Steve. Naughty boy, Steve.
Stephen Helliwell.
I need the undivided attention through this part from the general managers. You can stay there, Steve. You don't have to stand in the corner. Just listen. Okay. So I'll go very quickly. One gentleman touched on a walkway through from Hamilton Gardens to Hammond Street, and I have wondered that myself when you go to take that shortcut along the back of Hamilton Gardens to get into that area. I just don't know how to do it, and I've lived here most of my life.
So that's just a query about where that is.
Yeah, it's queries.
Yeah,
Just a lot of this isn't 10-year plan stuff. It's just that's come up that we want information on.
It's fine. It's late.
We've got our closed river walkways, which are just closed for too long. And
so update on our river walkways.
So yes, thank you. We've got the, and it's a key to our city. There's the two. You're still recording this, recorder? Yep, thank you. The two paths that a gentleman talked about to connect Temple View back into the city. Just information on those paper rolls.
What?
Hang on,
Yes, wait a sec. This is one member at a time.
And then Eddie's submission on the Fairfield Community Hub.
So an update on where we're at with the Fairfield
Where
Community
we are
Hub.
there, as well as a possibility of a destination playground for them that us feel.
It's probably more of a deliberation
yeah,
point.
just
Mr. Mayor.
okay. And sorry, thanks for not letting me stray into opinion. And also just looking at a report on draining our existing fields that turn into swim pools sometimes in the summer.
Yep, so that's one that was raised yesterday as well. So,
Yeah.
but it's just an update on our current drainage plans and the 10-year plan for our existing sports facilities.
Yep. And please don't take these as criticisms of staff. These are budget issues and...
No, it's your on Mark,
so,
Mr. Mayor.
so we just go around, we'll go to Leo because...
Those issues might have been brought up by someone else.
You know we don't have such luck though, Councillor Dave. Councillor Leo, any points of clarity?
Yeah, there's a number of submitters today said that they wanted to see Hamilton as a friendly pedestrian cycling city, you know. There's one thing which they brought up, and I fully agree with them.
No opinions,
sorry.
just information.
Start with Richard. I would like more information on and finish that sentence.
Separation between the cycleway and the carriageway.
Okay, so GM, just information about our program in terms of our segregation of cycleway and carriageway.
It's more than that, but we'll sort you out later, the CEO.
Yeah, I look forward to be sorted out at a reasonable hour, Councillor Dave.
Okay, Councillor Dave.
I've done the right thing and already emailed all 8 of mine in.
How do you spell email? Councillor James.
Okay, just a few. Follow up with Lance in regards to maybe the clothes that were hung off the playground at Fairfield Park, whether we're going to replace that with a proper rope.
And where have the clothes gone?
Where the clothes?
Yeah. The other one was. I think you've covered that, Mayor Andrew, with the walkways blocked off around Allendale there. So obviously, back you up with that to see what's happening there. And the other one was the East Business Community, Leanne, who came in to talk to us. We'd asked CitySafe to deliver to the stores around there the pamphlets and the posters for Your Help May Harm campaign. They've obviously got the little pamphlets, but they haven't got the posters. And I was assured they were going to be printed. And
yep. So you want to follow up on where that got to?
Yeah.
Yep.
To make sure that they actually get out to those stores.
Yep, that's cool. That's more of a just get on with it. Yep. Cool. I hear you. Councillor Mark.
Yeah, might have an email, but can I have a look at the geologist's report on the scanning of that Tomo underneath the Muni pools, please?
Yes.
We're sending you guys all the previous reports. So
Primo.
Great. 47 pages.
Good. Fantastic. Can we stuff them into the Tomo and then that'll fix it? Great. So the timeline on the Allendale Retirement Village paths sorted out. And there was one more, 2 seconds. Here we go. Do we have an employment policy or something similar that looks actively at employing people with disabilities in our organisation?
I will update. Yep.
Thank you. So that was
that's for you tonight.
This is just a really interesting concept.
Mark, could you just repeat that one, please?
Whether or not we have an council's policy on employment for...
I'm proud now we do have an equal employment opportunities program, but we'll give you some more detail.
Yeah, great. Okay. No, that was all I had. Thank you.
Councillor Jeff.
Fairfield Hall, I was confused by that discussion about what was happening with Fairfield Hall in terms of the lease or something there. I'd like some clarification.
Yeah, so that's been seeked. So we'll provide an update where we're at with that and where we got to.
Thank you.
Copies of resolutions by council.
Phil Evans brought up the issue of no rates rebates for renters, and I know we had a conversation about that not long ago, and I just wanted a bit of clarification on that.
I will provide information on whether it will work or not. You need a question whether you want to include it as part of the deliberations. So you can follow that up. And with everything else is doing, rates came out yesterday. Yes, that came out yesterday as well. So that's about rebates on rentals. There's also rebates associated with SUIP split properties as well. That was raised yesterday.
Yep, the Ryburn Road submission just made me, and a couple of other phone calls I've had, I just want a reassurance that people who are living outside the city, who are living without some of the services such as sewerage, footpaths and lighting are not being, that's being reflected in their rates bills, because I've had a couple of phone calls about that, just generally, not in Ryburn Road particularly.
Yeah, so we'll point you to the rating policy, which is currently out to consultation. So being out to consultation has all that information in it.
Okay.
But we'll point you to that.
Okay, and Taitua Arboretum, what is in our budgets for that? What?
So we'll get you the budgets on those.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. But Councillor Ryan.
The submitter, Rawari, I'd be interested to have circulated that document he referred to, Ngā Tapuwaio Hotumoa, regarding the bilingual-ish stuff.
So Sean can follow that up. Sean? Can you pronounce the name correctly, please, Councillor Ryan?
I'll
Just
come
say
in.
no, you can't.
Ngā Tapuwaio, and then the last word I'll show you.
So if you just talk to Rārori and Mona, or talk to Mona, he can get that information for you.
Just clarity, the submitter on the sports improvement for Galloway in terms of removing that cricket pitch, etc. There was no costing, but then I think we had a figure of 3.6 million discussed, so just clarity around the figure for the sports improvements to Galloway.
It's not that much. That was the proposal in December for all the field improvements.
Okay. So we just need to follow.
Across 7 parks. But
you can break that down.
If you could circulate that to me, thank you. Also, clarity around, and apologies if this has been, the 19 million spend on Rotorua Hub, just a breakdown of that again.
Yep, we can do that. There's paper supporting that, so we can do that. It's
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Mallett.
The options are available for Drury Lane. I'm not sure if we are responsible for that or not, but if there are any other options.
Oh, location-wise?
Yeah.
So
well, if we do go ahead and sell it.
Yep, so there is a letter that we need to circulate in the reference yesterday, whereby the church, they're St Peter's, aren't they?
Yeah.
Drury Lane.
So it's the CAB as well.
Yeah, so the Anglican Church is the interested party, and they've got a letter to us, and they're interested in keeping the current tenants on. So that's the first option, but we'll circulate that letter.
So nothing may change, except there's just a different owner.
So I will provide a copy of that letter when I get a copy. Yep.
Okay, do they know that?
They've guaranteed a 12 months notice of eviction if they are, but they don't even intend to do that.
So we'll circulate.
Yeah. No, 12 months notice period.
12 months notice period.
But we're not deliberating now, right?
No, we're not. No, that's not even deliberation fact, that's just a fact of the letter. So Councillor Mallett, any other points for clarity?
And if anyone could make head nor tail of the last submitter, I would be...
That's not...
I could not follow.
Okay, so that's fine. Councillor Mallett, was that all your queries? We'll come to you in a minute. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
So Councillor Paula, any points of clarity?
I did have about 8, some of which have been covered, but I've already emailed them.
What a star.
Just on that, are we going to get acknowledgements when we send an email? Because I actually have no idea whether the 4 emails I've sent have been received by anyone. They're reflected in the schedule.
Yeah.
Okay. What schedule?
It's all on OneDrive, Councillor.
Yeah, we're populating the schedule and there's a link sent out to you.
All the stuff you sent us.
So we can see everybody's.
When I wasn't here, so thank you for that.
Yep, so it gets updated twice a day. So this
Everyone else can see what.
anything you send to this email address gets updated twice a day, and you'll get an email saying it's been updated. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, cool. And then
No, we haven't finished.
We haven't finished
There's
yet.
still
We need
two more issues yet, so
Councillor Martin.
it's your choice, but there's still more,
Points of clarity.
still another few minutes.
Points of clarity, Councillor Gallagher.
Well, I don't know whether we do the CVG Management Trust, making some points about capital value, very polite and nice submission.
What more information would you like, Councillor?
Well, I would query some of the points he was making, but...
the point there is, can you review the CV Management Trust written submission and challenge whether or not those rates changes are as per what we've modelled? Thank you.
Possibly. The Unit 2, 181 Knighton Road, the issue, with the person with the multiple places with sinks, multiple sinks, the impact of the issue.
So that's been raised by Councillor Ryan yesterday about how
sure,
Councillor Mallet, on how the SEIPs work. So we're going to provide information on that per rating policy. It's been provided already.
Sure.
So if you look
the issue of the very excellent disability submissions, that to me would be a work in progress around evolving disability friendly, what we are doing, what we're not doing, and obviously Judy Small would have a role in that. I think.
So your question is specifically what is...
Well, how do we actually capture those very good submissions, but that's probably not in the LTP per se, but it is something perhaps community services.
I think that's probably something to take outside and offline.
In addition, ethnic community strategic plan, again, what might that look like? Again, that would be moving across the community services committee. Can I just also talk about the UAGCs, and I'd like accessible properties, and also respectfully the submission from Old Farm Road. I think it would be really useful to look at some dollar values per unit on that. I'd like to come back on that, because we talk percentages, but what does that mean? What does that mean per unit, per week, in terms of the rates that are being paid?
So that was specifically around accessible housing in terms of the impact of...
And the impact on housing of the UAGC on units.
Okay. Accessible properties, it was just accessible properties in Hamilton, pretty much what they've taken over from us.
And also there was the example given in Old Farm Road where there's a series of units, and there I worked out their rates go from 625 to 1096, from $12 to $21 per week. So I think it would be useful respectfully to look at some real figures and consider that. The other issue was the gentleman, Mr. Robert Bell, where he talked about the safety issues and an informal cycleway through St James, and also the mowing of parks there to improve access. So you don't have the full blast, but Manata Park, but mowing strips and stuff so that people walk their dog.
The Gordonton Road
one? Yeah.
So basically that's more of a question what's currently in our budget for urbanisation of roads in the outskirts of the city, particularly in this case was riding his push bike down Gordonton Road. He actually went 1.8 kilometres out of his way to avoid Gordonton Road. Yeah.
But he was saying some potential off-road cycleway
and whether or not the berms are wide enough, and whether or not they've been mowed adequately was the other thing. So what's
but also in terms of in parks, mowing strips and stuff, which Manata Park. And the other one too was obviously we will continue to have a discussion around the the CV to LV. Mr. Gallagher raised the point of whether you split in a broader sense.
So I think you're saying.
No, I know you can't leave, but there are other issues that come from that in terms of remissions and stuff like that. But that I realise we'll look at that when we come back.
Yep. At this point in time.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor. So just quickly before we go, I just want to particularly, and some of these people aren't here, but we'll get the staff to send a message through to Carly and Sue-Ann, who've done all the clearing and cleaning and stuff today. Fantastic. Video man Rowan, thank you. Democracy, thank you very much to you and your team. I mean, this is 12-hour days, guys. This is big. Julie and your chicken staff, thank you. Senior management, thank you very much for being here and staying and listening to the end. And of course, you guys, all of the colleagues, you guys, just fantastic. So, and your attitude's been fantastic. And sometimes I've had to be a little bit firm on you, but you haven't. You've been okay about it. So I appreciate that. So thank you all very much. We'll see you tomorrow at 9:30.
Is it 9:30 p.m.?